Ole, I'm so pleased to be back here at the World Trade Center with you. You and I have been down to this spot multiple occasions now. How you doing there in Spain, Ole?
I'm doing good. I think even though it's cold indoors here, we don't have a fire, but compared to you, I think we're doing good.
It's a little chilly today. I'm standing outside the Millennium Hilton, which I think most people recall is this gigantic obelisk of a building that is reminiscent of that gigantic black thing at the beginning of 2001, A Space Odyssey, the Stanley Kubrick film that many people have seen. But you know, Ole, I wanted to come down here today because there's an art exhibit that was recently installed that's been sort of the source of some debate. Now, you've pointed out in the past how artwork and symbology at some of these locations has been historically so important, and that's part of the reason why I wanted you to join me down here today. There was some reporting about this candy art exhibit that's from a guy named Jankel, a French artist named Jankel. I think Lawrence Jankel is his name. And there's been a lot of reporting about, you know, it was sort of characterized as a Saudi Arabian sculpture that was placed here. And although that's true, it's, I got people swarming around me here. And it's not gang stalking, it's just out-of-towners who don't understand that this is New York. You gotta hurry up or get out of the way. Now, Ole, there was some reporting about this in the New York Observer, and then, you know Snopes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Snopes tried to debunk this by saying that it was partially true, that because this is they said it's a mixture of true and false. Well, the fact is, there's no denying there is a Saudi Arabian sculpture here. It's a sculpture of a piece of candy wrapped in the Saudi Arabian flag. And the issue is a lot of people found this extremely distasteful to put this at the base of the New World Trade Center, which you and I have visited virtually. I was there, and of course you were with me on Skype. Thank you for joining me on that trip. But a lot of people find it pretty distasteful to have this Saudi Arabian sculpture here at the base of the World Trade Center, where so many Americans were killed, allegedly by 19 Saudi hijackers. Now, I know that you and I don't actually believe that the planes that hit the World Trade Center were flown by Saudi hijackers, but we do have this matter of the 28 pages from Bob Graham's Senate Intelligence Committee report. I know you're familiar with that, Ole, but if people aren't, they can go to 28pages.org. It basically describes how Saudi Arabian diplomats, including Prince Bandar bin Sultan and his wife, wired funds to the 19 hijackers, and a third Saudi diplomat actually co-signed for the apartments that these individuals lived in. I think it's foolish for anyone to think that someone without an established job and bank account and a lot of money could come to the United States and just rent an apartment without a guarantor, someone to co-sign. And yes, Lawrence Jankel is the guy. This sculpture was made in 2011. But Ole, it's actually a series of sculptures that are here, to be completely honest, and it represents all of the countries that are part of the G20. What do you think about the G20, Ole?
I know too little to talk about it. What I do know is that these different groupings of nations are up to no good at this point. I need to disagree with what you said about 9/11 before, because in my opinion, it was a total inside job. where the US, Israel was very strong in the whole thing, and with Saudi in the background. So indirectly, Saudi was part of sponsoring it. But these 19 hijackers, that's the official story. Absolutely, in my opinion, absolute BS. But the question of this show today is like, these sculptures did not just come out of nowhere. It's like to get them placed in a position like that, you need permissions, and there will be a whole hierarchy to go through to get a permission to put anything in a location. How shall I say, with such high level of
prominent
exposure.
Display? Yeah.
Prominent display, and so I will guarantee you that there's a thought behind that they have allowed these things here. And when we're talking about these sculptures, these artworks, and so, and very often it's hidden in plain sight. Many times there are messages being sent out there, and it's right in your face. But most of us just walk by it and think, well, oh, that looks weird, or that looks strange. And I mean, the whole building you got to your left, the subway station, that whole thing, if you ask me, that in itself is very bizarre, to say the least.
I've discovered some new things about it today coming up in the subway. This thing, Ole, that we've been inside before, it's got a weird kind of skeletal kind of design to it. Looks like a rib cage once you're inside there. This is a shopping mall. We can see the Westfield logo right there. I don't imagine you're familiar with that company, but they own a large number of shopping malls in the United States. And this thing is the Oculus Shopping Center, which I find strange. Oculus means eye. And of course, you've spoken to us about the symbology of the all-seeing eye. There's also, if you stand inside there, you can see that it's shaped like a pyramid, and it looks, if you stand right in the center of it, it looks like a pyramid missing the capstone.
That's what I'm saying. It's in your face. And if you look at that, I mean, it's even in the description of it, the art description of that building, they talk about the skeleton. So for me, it looks like the phoenix, the bird, but with a skeleton, like a ripped out rib case.
Yeah.
Cage. Well, you always have to ask yourself, why is it there? I mean, why did they approve of that one? Also, you see the New World Trade Center where, or the Freedom Tower as it's called, that is in itself is a pyramid shape on the side.
Yep.
You know, they wanted obelisk shaped buildings to start with, but that was just too obvious. So they went for another version after the Twin Towers went down.
Yeah.
So it's, but that's the way they do it.
And Ole, what's the significance of this bizarre Oculus structure being right in front of another obelisk, which is the Millennium Hilton, or whatever that building is, that black obelisk behind there?
I can only speculate, but did you remember when we went to see the Abraham Lincoln Memorial?
Yep.
With the obelisk in front of it, where it's actually their symbol, and then an altar of death. It's an altar with the sacrificed Abraham Lincoln on it, the way I see it, and then with this obelisk right opposite it, just saying, "We did it." You know, it's male power at the extreme.
Yeah.
You got the exact same in Stockholm, where the Swedish king Gustav III was assassinated several hundred years ago, and then you got the plot where the assassination was planned. Then you got water, just like at the Memorial Park. Then you got the obelisk, and then you got the castle. You know, the whole thing also, that's the location where he was assassinated, at the Opera House.
Right.
So it's the same setup, and you will see that just like with Martin Luther King, JFK, they use the same symbolism again and again and again.
Now,
with
Ole,
Freemasonic symbols. Yeah.
There's this Silverstein family park, but I feel like I'm in the wrong spot. Where is that Silverstein Family Park located? Do you know? Do you have?
It's Barclay Street.
Okay.
Do you know where Barclay Street is and West Broadway?
Barclay and West Broadway. Well,
Yeah.
here's a World Trade Center map, and see they've got the Oculus right there. Can you see that? It says
Yeah.
Oculus. So that's interesting. Barclay Street. Oh, here's Barclay Street. Yes, I think I'm pretty close to it. There's the
You are.
Oculus over there. So here's Broadway, and where's Vesey Street on here? It's a little confusing down here. Here's West Broadway. It's not the same as Broadway. Greenwich Street,
No,
Church
but-
Street. 9/11 Memorial is right there. And there's World Trade Center 1. So I do believe it's this triangular thing right here, I'm pretty sure.
Do you know Vesey Street?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right around here, but I'm just not exactly sure. I thought this was it right here. This is a triangular little park. And it's funny, there was a sculpture in that garden the last time I was here, but it's gone. I guess they moved that stuff around. So I thought this was it. It says this park at 7 World Trade Center is a privately owned space. The park is open daily to the public from sunrise to nightfall. I think this is it. Is it not?
I'm not sure. What streets are you on here?
Well, that's Barclay
What's-
over there.
West
And,
Barclay.
yeah, this is Vesey over here. This is it. I'm in it. And oh wait, not only is the park itself shaped like a triangle, but do you see this? This little patch with a tree in it is a triangle.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's like
the.
Pyramid Park.
But this is when you look from above. I mean, I only found this park because I know what to look for when they do these things. And so you got, there should be like a fountain type of round thing in the middle. That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's where Jeff Koons, the artwork, was standing before.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's been standing there for a long time, so maybe they took it away because we started pointing at it. Because Jeff Koons artwork have this very strange habit of turning up quite clear or quite close to these conspiracies, including Pizzagate.
Right. Well, you know, the thing I wanted to tell you about the G20, as far as I understand it, it's a group of countries and representatives of the central bank that get together and I guess decide what's going to happen with all the money. But Saudi Arabia is part of it, Australia we saw over there, Japan, and you know, we've heard about the 5 eyes, the 9 eyes, the 14 eyes. These are all these, you know, links between the secret agencies of the different countries that we all live in that I guess somehow control our fate. But I'm quite bothered by a Saudi Arabian sculpture here at the World Trade Center. And to be clear, Ole, I do not believe that 19 hijackers flew planes into buildings, but they were individuals who are here in the United States. They were photographed at Sky Harbor in Phoenix, Arizona, and at very least they were patsies. And I think there probably is some truth to the Senate Intelligence Committee report that found that Bandar bin Sultan sent money to them and, you know, provided the necessary cover for those guys to be here. I do not preclude the involvement of the other countries that you mentioned, including Israel, but this has become a major online debate where people say Israel did it. And I think we had people who are from Israel who were involved with people who are from the United States and people who are from Saudi Arabia. Of course, Dick Cheney, George Bush, all these guys were involved, but I don't hear those people saying America did it. I think it's important that we separate individuals from these countries from the entire country.
but also we're not looking at an attack carried out by a nation. It was an attack carried out by a power structure where you got key people in key positions in key nations. So it was absolutely not an Israeli attack. It was not a US, Saudi attack. It was a combination of them.
Well, and that brings me back, Ole, to this G20, because that is itself a conglomeration, not of a nation, but this sort of multinational globalist cabal, which, as you like to say, it's right here in our face. They've got artwork decorating.
But this is the way they do it. And there's one thing also with the G20 meetings, you will see that more or less every time they have a meeting, there's an alleged terror attack somewhere nearby. I would call it as a diversion. So just before this meeting, boom, it goes off somewhere, and it just takes away the attention of media. They look the other way, and then they carry out the meeting. I mean, the latest one was the Toronto van attack. There was a G20 meeting in Toronto there, and just before, boom, this happened, and so everybody was looking at that.
Right. So this art installation, it's called Flag Candy, and we've got Argentina, we've got South Korea. Sorry, I mistakenly thought that was Japan. We've got Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Now, I was having a conversation with Dr. Horton the other day, and she told me that there's really a large number of flags that have stars on them, pentagrams, like we see here on the, I believe this is New Zealand right here. Sorry, Australia. That's got, you know, multiple pentagrams on there. I think Saudi Arabia's flag has got to be the only one that I've seen that has a sword on it. That's a weapon.
Well, it is a brutal state as well. They're very harsh in their way of dealing with different areas. But if you're concerned about Saudi, then what the hell was Bush doing down there? And all of these American politicians down there shaking hands and hugging and kissing.
Oh, I agree.
I would say is a bigger concern than some sculptures.
Well, the sculptures are, of course, just symbolic of the relationship with these countries. I mean, I agree with you. Saudi Arabia stands for a number of things that don't seem to be aligned with what America stands for. We're supposed to be about freedom. I would imagine, yes, there's more around this side. We're supposed to be about freedom and justice and freedom of speech. And as a matter of fact, I was inside this Oculus building just moments ago, taking the subway down here. And you might recall, Ole, when they first opened up that subway station toward the end of 2018, I went down there and was looking at the new design of the subway station. It's got this inscription in the walls that talks about freedom of speech and all the things that are being taken away from various people in the online purges and things that are happening. I do want to take a minute to remind everybody, Ole, that you and I are doing a regular show on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and people can subscribe to patreon.com/lightonconspiracies and support that show. They can also subscribe to patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. If people go to Light On Conspiracies, they're going to see all the videos that Ole and I are doing together, as well as Ole's blog posts, other things that he's got on there. You can also go to patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. So Ole, I'm back around the other side of the building here. We've got flags for Indonesia. We've got, I'm not familiar with all of these flags. This one here is South Africa. It's also been a pretty brutal regime, apartheid and all that. Here we've got Brazil. I like Brazil, but there's a lot of corruption going on in Brazil. I don't recognize this flag, Ole. Do you? India.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that's got another symbol that Dr. Horton pointed out to me, the symbol of the sun. That's interesting. I mean, again, all of these flags aren't created by accident. This is Russia, right here. So, what remembers the G20.
What is the official explanation with this exhibition?
These are the members of the G20 summit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, it's another one of these globalist kind of things. I was talking the other day with David Hawkins about the Winter Garden. We can see the top of the atrium of the Winter Garden just over there. There was a bridge that connected the World Trade Center complex to the Winter Garden. I think it was destroyed. We can go take a look and see if it's still there. I mean, I basically just wanted to show you and the audience that artwork, Ole. The rest of this stuff is pretty much things that we've looked at in our previous trips down here to the World Trade Center. Was there anything else you wanted me to go check out while we're here?
No, I just think it's very interesting to be on location with you, but also wherever you are. I would suggest start looking at artwork in the streets, exhibitions in the streets, and so on, and you will see that the difference some 20, 30 years ago up till now has changed a lot. A lot of the art is very brutal, it's very dark, it's very sinister. If you go, for instance, to Berlin, I mean, it's like mind-blowing what's there as decorations. And
yeah.
The background noise is getting really loud now.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm getting close to the pool here, so yeah. The noise is picking up a bit.
But when you are in these areas, Jason, as now you're starting to see it as well. When you find these strong symbols, then look around, look in the direction of, for instance, in this case where ground zero is, or is it pointing in any specific direction? Is there anything else connected to it? Is there anything else design-wise that is lined up with it? And so these things will make you discover more details if they are hidden such.
Well, I'll tell you, the most noticeable thing, Ole, is that all of this stuff, I mean, this reflecting pool or whatever it is, this hypercube pool is, I guess itself, sort of a piece of artwork to some extent. And we've now got this sort of outdoor museum that's clustered right down here at the site of the destruction that is now celebratory artwork. I don't know if you could hear that. Have I still got you, Ole?
No. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, if you stand over here, you've got your reflecting pools, you've got this giant bird-like skeleton sculpture that is the oculus. We've got the obelisk-like Hilton Millennium Hotel back there. And it's just become kind of a sculpture garden, this area down here that used to be the World Trade Center. But
for instance, now you're looking at a hypercube in the, if you turn towards the water again.
Yep.
Well, many of the Masonic altars are hypercubes, you know, and then right when you look at that, so imagine you're standing in front of an altar now, okay, and you look towards the bird, if that's, I mean, that looks like a bird of vengeance or a death bird in my, or the, and then behind it, if you look, what is aligned with it, behind it?
Yep.
Can you raise the camera?
That's the Millennium Hilton.
Okay, which is a very black, like this black obelisk. And I'm sure if you go from the other side, if you follow in the same lineage, if you turn around, what are you looking at then?
Well, if you turn around, you've got these two buildings of the World Financial Center, which have the Winter Garden right in the center. And, you know, that's sort of a giant open-air shopping mall in there as well. So, I mean, you know, this is the World Trade Center. It's sort of itself a monument to trade and commerce and money. And this is one of the financial centers of the world, of course, down here, New York City. Yeah, that bridge is gone, Ole. It used to go, I think it used to go right in here. You could walk across this area from the World Trade Center to the World Financial Center into that Brookfield place. And it's no longer here. But there was a sign hanging on there that David found interesting.
Jason, can I ask you a thing?
Yes.
It's I have a very strange experience when I go around on tour and I want to talk about things, false flag attacks or assassinations. What I find very strange is that if, for instance, I go to Norway, I would think that they would be very interested in finding out the truth. For instance, or in Stockholm, the truck attack that is said to have taken place there. But it seems to be the exact opposite, and I find that with New York as well, that the people in New York are interested in so many other stuff, but 9/11, no. It's like it's too close to home.
Maybe.
What is your experience when it comes to these things?
Well, I think that definitely when it first happened, people were, including myself, very opposed to this sort of 9/11 was an inside job conversation. I'm standing close to the road now. Let me get somewhere where it's a little quieter. But I think as more information has come out over time, Ole, it's become undeniable that what happened or what we're told happened is not what actually happened. So it's tough for me to answer that question because the people that I talk to obviously are looking for answers maybe outside of the mainstream explanation. I think there's still a lot of people who think you're crazy. Oh, I see more artwork over here. I think there are still a lot of people who think you're crazy if you question the mainstream, but more and more people are waking up. I think the more they do these things, particularly Vegas, seem to be a wake-up for a lot of people. Hey, Ole, there's 2 candy wrappers right here in front of the entrance to the World Trade Center that I think you'll find interesting. One of them has the Union Jack on it, and the other one I can't quite make out.
Is it Germany?
Maybe. What's the German flag?
It's black, yellow, and
perhaps.
Black,
well, we've got the
red, and yellow.
The British one.
I think.
Oh yeah, and Germany.
That's,
So are they the rulers of the EU?
What? You tell me.
It's interesting that they choose these 2. Yes,
this
Germany.
is exactly it. You have to ask yourself, why were these picked instead of South Korea and India?
Right.
Yeah. Was that just a coincidence, or is there another thought behind it?
It's flag candy, Ole. What do you think about this art installation?
I don't know. I don't get any specific feeling about it. It's normally the type of artwork I'm talking about is a lot darker and a lot more sinister and a lot more sort of standing out in a dark way. This one I don't really know what to make of.
Well, candy is sweet, and perhaps this is an ironic art installation.
Do you know, like with the Bilderberg group, they kept it top secret for many years. It was anyone who was trying to expose it was called crazy or conspiracy theorist or whatever. And then in the year 2012, I think it came to a point where they couldn't deny it anymore. And then in 13 and 14, they hired a German marketing agency that did a lot of public relationship. They spent millions pumping up the image of this group.
Right.
I would say a bit like making candy out of it. Sweetening the whole thing up, making it, it's just a nice group of people, playing golf, and they need some time off, come on, let them have that without having photographers in their face all the time. And maybe this is one way of sweetening up the whole G20
Exactly.
approach that, oh, look at that, isn't that cute?
It's
Instead
delicious.
of seeing what actually is going on.
Right. Well, I don't know if we've seen all 20 of them, Ole, but I've been looking around and we've seen quite a few. I haven't seen the US, but we've got Britain and Germany right here in front of the entrance to the World Trade Center. Well, Ole,
you got actually, it's a little strange because there's 20 members, but 19 different countries, and then the European Union is one. So I don't really know what France and England and Germany are doing there.
It's a very strange thing.
Because you got, let me see, Argentina, Australia, Brazil. Then you got the European Union, France, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan,
Russia,
Canada, China, Mexico, Russia, Saudi, Great Britain, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, Germany, and the US. How many was that? I think that was about 20.
Yeah. Well, it's got something to do with the central bank. Perhaps we'll start to look into it a bit more. Ole, my fingers are starting to freeze, so I think I'm going to get back on the subway, unless there's anything else we want to check out.
Now, I just want to say that on Monday, we will have a live show, hopefully with Karine Boutsebaut, who is an amazing, amazing Belgian woman who's been standing up for more than 30 years against the satanic rituals and the pedophile rings. She was in a documentary where she was a BBC documentary where she was named one of the three most bravest women in Europe.
Yeah.
And she is a friend of mine, and I totally admire her. And she has spent years meeting face to face many of these pedophiles, many of these killers, but also all of these victims. And she's been taking it in court cases all the way up to the highest level.
That'll be an exciting show. People can see that, Ole, on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern if they go to patreon.com/lightonconspiracies or to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That's where you and I have been doing our series, Light on Conspiracies with Ole Dammegard, every Monday exclusively for Patreon sponsors. And it's interesting, Ole, two of the most vocal people in this whole Patreon controversy have been Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but I saw Jordan Peterson speak at the Turning Point USA conference in Palm Beach, Florida. And something came up about the satanic panic. Are you familiar with that? It was a series of arrests or incidents that occurred, I believe, in California in the 1980s, where some killings were attributed to satanic ritual abuse. And Jordan Peterson said it was a hoax. I don't believe that's correct. I think there were satanic ritual abuse killings, and I found it strange that he would dismiss it as a hoax. But he's been one of the spearheads in this movement to create an alternative to Patreon. And I always wonder, there's always the text, in other words, what we're told, and then the subtext of what's going on that perhaps we aren't told. And I don't know. I think Jordan Peterson is an interesting guy with a lot of interesting perspectives on things, but when he said that it was a hoax, I found that very, very strange. So we're sticking with Patreon for right now. I am trying to put together an effort to speak to Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon. He hasn't made any public statements about the removal of Carl Benjamin, about the removal of Milo Yiannopoulos. One interesting point, Ole, that a viewer brought up is that both of those guys are British citizens. I wonder if something that they did, I don't know, having to do with being British or whatever, but there's a lot of indicators that pressure's been put on Patreon by the international payment processors. So perhaps people taking out their anger on Patreon is the wrong way to resolve this matter, because in the end it really just hurts people like Ole and myself more than it hurts Patreon. And if it's Visa, MasterCard, or PayPal, or Stripe, or something like that taking these actions, then canceling your Patreon account and terminating your sponsorship of patreon.com/lightonconspiracies or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth isn't really a good solution. So Ole, I'll look forward to seeing you on Monday, and I hope that everybody will join us. Have a great evening there in Spain.
Thank you so much, and get some hot chocolate and get some nice gloves on again.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon, Ole. Thanks very much.
You take
Thanks
care.
for watching,
Bye-bye.
everybody.